Does anybody have any general feelings about the material that they wanted to talk about?
Well, I did want to respond to Ted's. He assured us last time that not all of the modules were as, hand-holdy. And it is true. In this one, it was like, oh, okay, do the thing. All right, well, how would I do that? Right. So it was there were several of them that they didn't lead you at all. It was sort of, you had to know the material in order to be able to fill it out correctly, which was both good and bad. So now I see your point, Ted, about sometimes like the syntax, it's too long to hold all of that syntax in your head until you get to the point where you have to practice it. And now,
like when they made you type out the dictionary at the end of this,
no,
and you're just like, why are you making me type up an entire dictionary?
Yeah, well, that one was just stupid. Yeah, like let's just take the table. That's an outlier. Let's get that off. What I'm talking about is like all of the functions and all of the arguments and so forth. They would like fly through them, and they would do like 12 or 15 of them, and then they would say, okay, now do exercise this, and you're like, which one of those 12 or 15 things that I just went through in about 5 seconds was that, right? So
yeah.
what I had to do was basically start taking notes. Like as the video was going, I was just writing down like syntax type stuff, like, okay, this function, that function, the other function. And then when I got to the exercises, it was like, okay, I use this one or that one or whatever. So it definitely did change between the last time and this time in terms of the, hand-holdiness.
Yeah, I definitely agree. For me, I appreciated it better, but I hope that skipping so much in between, we didn't lose anyone that joined last time and was kind of newer to Python. But it was pretty interesting for me. I enjoyed how it was. There were a few more fill in the blanks and a little less clear instructions from time to time, but yeah, it was a lot of content though. I didn't realize how much content that was going to be this time.
Yeah, me neither. I underestimated that as well.
Okay, so do we want to dive into the material then for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. So the point of pandas, how many of you, when you think of pandas, think data visualization?
I mean, I think of it to like get the data ready for visualization. Yeah, I put it in that bucket, but it's not the library we're using. It's just usually the first step from what I see.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure, because I think technically speaking, when you have a data frame and you call like .plot, that it's actually using matplotlib. So
yeah,
it's, I don't know, like for sure, but it seems to me a little bit of a stretch technically to say it's pandas.
Yeah, it is. I did some investigation. It is using matplotlib on its covers. There's an import for matplotlib inside of pandas. So
and they say that right here, dude. So I wonder which one of these children is matplotlib. So pandas is popular. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. And then it's the first time I've ever heard this called rectangular data, by the way. When they said that, I'm like, wow, I work with data. I don't hear it called rectangular data, maybe ever. Maybe it's always tabular or I don't know. Anyway. So it was interesting that we're dealing with the height and weight of dogs in this data set. And the whole time I'm like, who cares about fat dogs? But because we started calculating the BMI, I just thought that was funny. Did they, like, was the BMI of dogs like less threatening than talking about people? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. They didn't want to offend people with real heights and weights and say, hey, that's not fat.
Wait, that person weighs less than me and you're saying they're fat.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, yeah. Then you print the data frame. Yep, that's fine. And then you print the head, which is the top 10 records or so. And then you look at the info, and the info is, it's interesting the way I read this. Like, it's the column, and then whether it's null, but what's the data type? Like,
It's over there. The object, N64, N64 object.
oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Object.
but it's not, it's not clear. This could be output in such a better way. Right?
You would think that for a package that has data frames in it, we would see something that framed this up for us a little nicer, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. And then shape. Yeah.
Speaking of not helpful output, like
yeah, yeah.
Like honestly, looking at it right now, I forget. I think it's rows is first and then columns, but I
think so
never
too.
remember.
Yeah, I think it is rows and columns.
It's the same thing in NumPy. So just get used to having to know the order of things because it's never going to be explained to you.
Yeah. And then describe. Now I was like, hey, that's nice, a little profiling, which is nice to not have to write all this out by yourself. Do a little exploration. Figure out if the data is valuable or not. And then dot values, and you get what looks to me like a list of dictionary. Now
it's a 2D NumPy array, I believe, but yeah, it's
2D NumPy array. Yeah.
It is NumPy array.
Yeah, NumPy array. And then, dot columns. We get an array of columns, and then
see, that's the way it should have been. Like the whatever it was, info or whatever. I don't know. I feel like it could have been presented in a better way, right? Like it's just not at all clear. It does say total of 6 columns, but I don't know. Just the way it's presented is just yucky.
So, okay. What do we see? Okay, Pandas Philosophy. There should be one and preferably only one obvious way to do it. And that's
the Python philosophy there.
Right.
Well, the Zen of Python. Yeah. I don't think Pandas actually lives up to its goal.
I was not getting that vibe this month.
That was very politically correct, Ted.
I wasn't either.
Go to the next slide though.
When he said,
"Oh, is it?"
Wait, like when we were doing the project, I was seeing a ton of different ways to do something.
Yeah,
I think that's what he says, right? Go to the next slide. So I think the slide was. Oh no, he doesn't. Maybe he said in the video. I could have sworn that there was a Python. One of the Python statements is this, but Pandas doesn't really do that. I thought he said that, but maybe that was just me in my own head translating the slide.
So this thing he quotes as the Zen of Python, I didn't really find that on Amazon. Is it a blog post?
Hold on.
Maybe it's this blog post.
To get that to pop up in the command line, but I can't remember what that is.
Yeah, there's like the 30 Python guiding principles, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I think it's that link down there. I think it's one of the PEP 20, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're worth reading. They help me kind of decide how to write Python code. And you'll see them quoted. Well, you'll see them referred to a lot in Stack Overflow, which is interesting.
The Easter egg is import this. So I go open a Python shell real quick. You have one? We'll have to wait the 20 minutes for PyCharm to start. But then go to the Python terminal. It's probably Python console. It's in the, yeah. Yeah, and just type import this.
Beautiful is better than ugly. Wow, that goes to a lot more than Python.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's
trying to find my favorite. My favorite is something like code is written once but read many times. Unless they made that up in the Pluralsight course. I could have sworn it was a Zen of Python.
Is there a Zen of Python Pluralsight course?
No, but in the Python fundamental one, the authors talk about Zen of Python a little bit.
I think it's yeah, I think there's one that has more information, like the way of Python. Yeah.
I'll find a link and drop it in the
chat for
us.
I think there's a thing called like the way of Python or something like that that has more information.
So, okay. Well, oh, look at that. Yeah, here it is. Namespaces are one honking great idea. Let's do more of those. Okay. All right. So we practice, and then we move down to sorting and subsetting, which kind of feels a little repetitive, like we knew how to do that already. But anyway, there's a data frame called dogs, and they want to sort by weight in ascending. The St. Bernard's 74 kilograms. 74 kilograms. What is that, 200-pound dog?
Yeah.
That dog weighs more than I do. What?
163 pounds.
Oh, yeah, actually, no. I weigh 78 kilograms. So actually 79 kilograms. So I've got him by 5 kilograms. Jeez. At what point does the dog own you? So then this is a weird argument name, by the way. Like,
I agree.
I don't know. I would have preferred, I don't know, order equals ascending or ASC or DSC or something. But yeah, that to name it ascending is kind of a weird thing. The other thing that kind of throws me off is the underscores and all of the method names. I guess the C sharper in me isn't used to having underscores everywhere and all the method names, but Dustin,
that's Python though. That's Python.
Mm-hmm.
Underscores everywhere, huh?
Snake case. Yep.
Yeah, even though data frame itself is camel cased, basically
class names are Pascal case, but everything else is everything else is underscores all over the place.
Yeah, except for sometimes constants and things like that are screaming caps. But yeah, everything's snake case except for class names, which are Pascal case. Yeah.
Snake case is underscore.
Yeah.
I just like.
I didn't know that one's snake case.
Yeah, snake case. Yeah, snake case underscore. I just get irrationally angry anytime somebody makes me hit my shift key while I'm typing. Like.
Oh, wait, Ike, you have to do that for capital letters too.
Well, yeah, that's true. I guess you do. But at least with the capital letter, it's not one extra letter.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So what's very interesting is if you code in Spark using actually Python or Scala a lot, and then you go use it in C#, it's very different because I think the first letters of the methods are uppercase. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
It was very different
So
looking than every
Scala
other language you
uses,
can do Spark in.
yeah, Scala uses like Java.
Camel case. Yeah, camel
Yeah,
case and
camel
Java.
case. And then, yeah, C# would use Pascal case for the method names. Yeah. So
Okay.
this, by the way, sorting by multiple values, I also thought was totally wrong. Like,
Because
no,
it's a
sorry,
list of
scroll down one
values.
more.
But you don't like the list and the sort values?
No,
I
that's totally
loved it.
fine.
Yeah, I agree. I loved it until the next part where some of them were
Yes.
sending and some were not. And I was like,
This is
oh,
like,
this is odd.
this is hideous, right? And so that's why, and what it should be is like, you know, a list of tuples.
Oh, really? That's less complicated?
Yeah, because they go together. You're not trying to match them in your, you know, like, oh, the first one is weight, and let me go over to the second list and find the first argument in that one. Okay, that's true. And then go back, and now the second one is height. Now let me go over to the other list, and then the, you know, like if it said open square bracket, okay, open paren, weight underscore kg, comma, order equals, ascending, close paren, comma, open paren, height in centimeters, and it wouldn't need anything else in that particular case. But like that would be much better, right? That would be much easier to read because they would all go together
Yeah.
and read left to right.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying because, like, I'm a SQL guy, and so, I mean, that's kind of what you would do in SQL, right?
Yeah.
Without all the punctuation. But knowing that if you did it that way in Python, then for a single value to be sorted descending, you would have to use a tuple. And that's
No,
more complicated for the simple case.
wait. Single value.
Yeah.
You would have to use a tuple.
Right.
Not necessarily.
Well, okay, if you're going to follow the exact same syntax, right?
Yeah.
Right now
Yeah.
it's saying two parameters, what to sort by and ascending.
Yeah.
If it
And
type
you
checked
either
every object in the list, then it could check if it was a tuple and then use ascending or not, or otherwise just assume.
Yeah.
well you definitely could do that, but what I'm saying is to be consistent, because then you're basically that whole thing Zen of Python. Now you have two different ways of doing the most simple thing of just sort this darn thing. Whereas right now you may not like it, but they're actually very consistent. There's one parameter, which is what you sort, and it's either one thing or it's a list of things.
Ted is kind of convincing me that,
Nope.
and yeah, he is, Scott. And that, and the fact that I agree, Scott, that if you had 4 sort columns, this would start to get confusing. But because in my experience, the most you ever get is 2 sorts because nobody gives a shit about your tertiary sort order. You know, 2's okay. You can read 2, you know. We're not ever going to have 6 in here. Who figures out the 6th sort column? No one.
I'm not saying I even like it. I'm just saying the way of Python is you have fixed parameters, and you either pass a single thing or you pass a list. That's like kind of the way you do things in Python.
Yeah.
I still don't like the ascending of lists where you have to correlate them. And it's so easy to be consistent where you don't have to do that confusing syntax that they really had no excuse. I think it was just sheer laziness.
I don't
right?
think so. I think they were trying to be consistent with the way you pass parameters.
Yeah, but you can do that.
That's okay.
It can be done.
It's
Okay.
true. It depends on developers if they want to do it or not. And it is open source, you know. They can be lazy.
Yeah, for all we know, there actually is the option to pass a dict in, where like the first is called what, and the second is called ascending, and it'll actually work, and then you'll be happy, Scott.
Okay. I'll check it.
Don't make Scott try it, because then he's going to check out of the rest of the session while he futz around.
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, God.
Around.
So Scott will
So-
create his own helper function that will split out into 2 lists. and then-
Yes,
Exactly.
you will. Make sure you put a PR in for pandas.
I will.
So Scott, don't check out yet. So subsetting, this was kind of standard. We'd done subsetting like this before in earlier classes. And subsetting multiple columns. And then you can specify the columns in a list and then hand the list into the data frame. And subsetting rows, stop me if you guys want to talk. And so then you map the subsetting of the rows. You say, hey, here's the predicate into the.
This
Into the
syntax
data.
isn't my, I think it makes sense, but it's not my favorite. However, when I code it, I just create, I create a variable for the filter and then pass in that. So I don't have to see dog or dogs right next to each other. I feel like that gets pretty crazy pretty quick.
Fair enough. I agree with you.
Yeah, this is the same syntax in R, but I've never liked it. So I use like dplyr now, so I don't have to type this. And I think in pandas you can do dogs.query and give it some kind of like where clause type syntax instead of. I never liked this syntax, and it's also a lot of typing, a lot of these square brackets and stuff.
So much for only one way to do things. And then same thing with the breed. Why did they show 2? Is it just because they want to show the double equals with the string? Probably. Okay. And then subsetting based on dates. You got it. These dogs are so young. When was my dog born? My dog must have been born 2011. Crazy. Uh-oh. I don't want to think about it. And then, okay, multiple conditions with an amper, which I don't mind this syntax right here. Although it does kind of is lab equals dog breed equal Labrador, is brown equals dog's color equal brown. Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was better than I think last time they had us doing np.logical and or something like that, right? So, and now this is, I think, much more readable, especially when you have the actual filters above, right? It starts to get a little less readable in that line where they tried to combine them. But
was there a reason why it had ampersand instead of the word and? Because I think Python uses the word and typically, right?
Yeah, it's because the word and would automatically do something in Python, which is not what they want to do here, right? The word and would make sure if the left is truthy, it would short circuit, right? And we don't want to do any of that, right? So here what we're doing is we're going to take 2 expressions and, apply them both.
Okay, that makes sense. And then they talk about is in, and that makes sense to me.
But you don't miss this functionality unless you're in a language that doesn't have it. So it was nice to see is in, because Tableau doesn't have that as a program, as a function option.
And you're just like or.
Or weird tricks to get around it, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. And Python, has the in keyword in general, which makes it, one of the things that makes it super readable, I think. If key in dict, then, do something, right? Or whatever. It's nice and easy to see.
Yeah. Okay. Then we practice, then we look at new columns. Dog's height in meters equals Dog's height in centimeters divided by 100. What's kind of frustrating is when you print, sometimes you tack on a column, and then when you print, it doesn't show up in the tacked on. You have to actually describe or info it so that you can see that the column actually worked.
Yeah, if you have too many
Yeah, if your
columns
screen's
to
not
print.
wide enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and now we get to the controversial BMI is weight divided by height to the second.
Oh, I just saw the title says doggy mass index instead of BMI.
Body mass index, but they
They
should have
changed-
said DMI then.
No, I think you're right. I think this used to be people and someone changed it to dogs.
Yeah, yeah. BMI is something Scott and I have been discussing because we both lost a little bit of weight. He thinks BMI is bullshit.
It is total bullshit, but don't get it's biased against tall people. Like, if you're a tall person, getting a BMI is ridiculously hard. You have to be a toothpick, right? Whereas a short person can be practically pudgy and still have a totally fine BMI, right? It's not right because of the square, right? You can see it in the calculation right there. The square of the height as you get taller gets, well, I guess that doesn't really work, right? That would be the inverse of that. I don't know why it doesn't work then, but it doesn't.
It is very biased against muscular people, though. So that's or people with a lot of muscle mass. So that's it. That's your argument. You're just too buff.
Oh yeah,
Because
that's my argument. That's my argument, Dustin. Thank you.
it's because they depends on volume, and volume is not square unit. It is cube unit.
Yeah, cubes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, there you go. I like it. All right. Although, from a public health standpoint, Margot is in public health, my wife's in public health, and she says that big people, whether it's muscle or fat, have very similar health outcomes. So it is not conclusive. This is a theory that they're estimating right now, but it looks like big muscular people have a pretty high rate of heart attacks, just like big non-muscular people, and that they have cancer incidences. Maybe diabetes might be a little bit different, but they have a lot of the similar longevity rates.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah. Yep. It turns out that if you're big, your heart has to work pretty hard.
Yeah. So just be careful and don't be born tall.
Yeah. Well, that's
the moral of the story.
Taller people do seem to have a shorter lifespan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But public health people rarely talk in definitives. They just say, "Oh, interesting study. We'll see how that bears out." They don't. The public health longevity, it's too many variables, right? So they try to isolate, but it's sometimes hard to be definitive. You ever want to talk about somebody who will refuse to be pinned down about anything? Talk to someone with a PhD in nutrition. They won't say shit. They will, well, they've seen a lot of conflicting studies. One thing they will say is like, eat more calories than you burn, you'll probably get fat. You want to lose weight, eat a lot less calories than you need, than you burn, and you'll get skinny. They'll say that definitively, but everything else will say, well, current thought leads us to this. But
maybe like any one thing in extreme, like if you eat 80 jillion gallons of sugar or 80 jillion gallons of carbs or 80 jillion gallons of any one thing is probably not good.
Probably not good. They'll say that. Yeah. And I think what's happened is we're kind of in a golden age of science in my mind. I was reading that biologists are similarly not wanting to get pinned down because they're seeing research ratchet on itself so quickly that they're like, it's, unless you read today's publications, who knows what's true? You know, we're kind of in a great age of educated people publishing and getting access to that publication really early. I think in 1,000 years, they'll look back at this time as a very evolving scientific culture. Anyway, multiple
Some
manipulations.
journals are still behind paywalls, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so multiple manipulations. So this is saying what? Grab the dog's BMI less than, so if BMI is less than 100, give me dogs and tell me that's less than 100. BMI less than 100, now sort by height ascending, so descending, and make that the tall guys first. And then subset name height in centimeters and BMI. Okay.
See, Scott, there's your correlation. Descending height, descending BMI.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, I guess that's to be expected. It's just that it's not, I don't know. Like the problem is not that BMI is a bad calculation. That's fine. It's just that they put a limit on it, like, I don't know,
24.
Yeah, whatever it is. And so,
25.
you know, if you're above a certain height, to get below that limit is like stupid hard, right? It's just, it requires you to be, as I said, like a beanpole, right? Like have to never move, because if you do, you might gain a muscle that'll put you over that BMI, right? So you should be a couch potato instead, because that'll help.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the things that they, you know, the things that they come up with related to BMI, like the recommendations, is stupid.
So we're going kind of slow because we just finished chapter 1 of the first thing, which is fine. Maybe we don't get through it all today, but
pick it up, Ike. Pick it up.
All right. So this is interesting. I really like this about pandas. We said this in the last class that we had, but just real quick way of getting median and max and mins and sums, quantiles are very useful. Yeah, real quick way to figure out your date ranges and if they're accurate. The AG method, it's interesting, isn't it? So you can just fit any function in here, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
It's not clear to me why we need ag.
yeah, I agree. I mean, well, it is. I mean, if you want to do something crazy, but the amount of times that you need to do something crazy are obviously a lot less than you just need to, you know,
Sum count
and calculations. Yeah.
and then summaries on multiple columns. So give me the %30 for weight and height. Okay.
Like BMI could be an ag.
A great example of an ag, right? Can't you? Well,
I think an ag can only take one series.
yeah, I think so.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So it seems to me that there's some way you could do a map and a reply or something instead of ag. Like, do we really need another specialized?
I totally think you need it, but I agree that it's not super common, right?
It's rare. Yeah.
And then multiple summaries, and then cumulative, which is sum, which kind of made me giggle.
And so useful for like line graphs, right? That's basically where cumulative sum is used. I think that's the only situation, right?
For running totals.
Yeah, for running totals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I end up doing cumulative like percentages sometimes.
Because people like to see it total 100.
Well, because sometimes intuitively you want to know like at what point have I got half, at what point I've got 80% of my whatevers.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That does make sense. Yep. Cum max, cum min, cum prod. Okay.
Less and less useful.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Cumulative min. Yeah. Huh. I'm not sure when you'd use that.
I mean, basically, if you're trying to draw the same line graph that we were trying to draw with cumulative sum, but you want the bounding mins and maxes, or something like that, to see how the sum bounces up against the mins and maxes, right?
So you get like a band or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like if you're training a neural net and you do it for 50 epochs and you want to know your best so far, that would be your Q-min.
That makes sense.
Right, so each of the 50 epochs you report your Q-min, and so every now and then you get a new best and then it drops. Then it stays flat for a while and then you get a new best and it drops. But I've never actually used Q-min. I'm just thinking like, when could you use it?
I like it. So sales.head.
Just introducing that lab.
Yeah, they're introducing the lab, yep. And then counting, avoiding double counting. So this was us dropping duplicates by name, which, yeah, I feel like, yeah. I don't know, these are not very popular dog names where I am. I don't hear these as dog. These are children names. These were people. Yeah.
Or, I don't know, Cooper could be a dog name.
My
That was
grandparents had a Bella and a Charlie, so.
That dog named Cooper, wasn't that in Fox and a Hound? Is it,
Yeah, I think so.
Why do I know that?
Oh, Copper. Todd and
Copper.
Yeah.
Todd and Copper. That's right. Okay.
Yes, we have kids.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I can blame that on that. So then this is dropping duplicates based on name and breed, which I still think, like, yeah. How many, like, French bulldogs have, like, Annette as the name or some French name? I don't know.
But regardless of the sample data set, drop duplicates is a pretty useful function to have when you're working with data. So I definitely appreciate that Pandas offers this.
Oh, it's awesome. It's so difficult to drop duplicates in SQL. You can do distinct, but distinct is not great because what this is letting you do is say, I want 10 columns, but the duplicates are in these columns, right? Where distinct is just dropping the duplicates across all the columns, and it's not super nice that it does that. You have to then kind of join it back in somewhere else. And if you have duplicates, like, and you have primary keys with duplicates, you'll never get that primary key coming back out, right? It's very hard to do that.
CT with row number, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what you end up doing is that. Yeah, it's not great. And then easiest 1, 2, 3, like value counts. Yeah, so we're counting the breed counts, I guess. Oh, this is the only difference is the sorting here. Okay. And then proportions.
Okay. Normalizing.
Yeah, normalizing. Yep. And then we practice. And then group summary statistics. Is this a good way to do this, or should I be going through our labs and doing it? Are you guys bored with this?
I think this is working. I think it's probably faster than if you tried to go through the labs.
There's quite a bit of code in these sessions, so I think this is probably working well, but we shouldn't be afraid to like go find the example if anyone has a question or wants to talk more in depth about what the code actually did.
So yeah, I like group by. So
As a side comment, I think I did this very early in the month, but I think this is the lesson where early on, when things were relatively simple before we got to some of the more complicated things, it was like, wow, there's really not much to like test you on learning how to, whatever, like just, grab a column, So let me just ask you the same thing 3 times. Like just nothing different about it. Just I'll just give you a different column name. Just do it again. And then so for several things in a row, it asked for like the same thing, just 3 times, 3 times, 3 times, just because it wasn't complex enough to have any variety. And it's like, maybe if it's that easy, you just don't need to ask it 3 times.
yeah. So that's all a fair point. The thing I don't like about this syntax is I would have thought it would say dogs.group by color .mean and then the column. Like,
yeah, but passing in the column name as a parameter to mean is what I kept trying to do. I'm pretty sure that's what I would do in Spark for some of those things. I think I actually don't summarize that often, but yeah, it felt a little weird to have to use those square bracket index, calls in order to get to it. But the other thing you could do, though, I forget, maybe they're going to show us, is you could just do mean and it'll do it against all the numbers if you're really just trying to get to one, and then filter down to what column you care about. I'm guessing you don't want to do it on a big data set, but that's kind of how I found it to be the easiest way to just kind of experiment with these small data sets.
yeah. And then there's ag back, and then min, max, and sum, which I guess is okay.
That's pretty cool right there. That's good functionality.
Yeah. I guess that St. Bernard was white. The data is not big enough to be interesting, but. And then, yeah, multiple, put the array in for multiple variables. And then multiple groups, and then multiple means. Yeah, that looks weird to me. Like, look at this, dogs.group by, what are we grouping by? Well, open paren the list, and then the list of.
I mean, this may be something it's better to actually do as 2 statements. Color breeds equal dog that group by blah, 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 close paren. And then color breeds double square brackets, weight and height, right? That might be clearer because it is getting a little bit, I'm almost getting lost in the parentheses and the brackets,
Yeah, that's how I
Yeah,
felt.
I mean, the double square brackets is how you subset a data frame out of a data frame. And so there is nothing special going on here. Group by is returning a data frame.
Yep.
So anytime you have a data frame, you can just slap double square brackets next to it. So this isn't special. It's just, it's just, if you're not familiar with it.
Just hard to read.
It's hard to read.
So they had to make sure we
so
know.
hard to read. Yep.
So then,
and then eventually you could use like .loc instead of slamming the double square brackets right next to it, and then that'll put a dot in there for you.
Fair enough. So
loc.
Is it like tone loc?
Second argument for, I think of .loc as subsetting rows, but it's the second argument that's the columns. Uh-oh, Ted, you're muted.
I'm muted. Yeah, you can do .loc : comma
Yeah, okay, cool.
and then columns.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Okay. So now pivoting, just kind of a tough topic sometimes.
Yeah, I was confused, I think, by the word values, I guess. There, I don't know. And also we've talked about it before already, that the index, right, is not the best thing to indicate to me rows, right? Index just means something totally different in my mind, and right. But so I think for me the syntax was confusing, like values and then index. I don't know. I just had a tough time with keeping them straight in my mind and which one was which. It was right about here why I had to start writing things down. You know, somewhere around here, it was like, oh, I can't remember any of these, what these silly words meant. You know, like agfunc. I was going to come up with agfunc. I promise you. Just give me 100 more times. Started having to do like help and things like that. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to take notes from this.
ag_func?
Yeah, exactly.
I know that's, yeah, they make it double hard by not underscoring it like you do everything else. But yeah, that was a fun one.
So
Was
I'm
it
pretty sure in the
value or
project,
values? Yeah, sorry.
the Scala GitHub project, at the very end, I think because we were supposed to have learned this, they threw in a pivot table. And I was just like, you know, I'm glad to know that you can do pivot tables. There's no way I remember the syntax. Like,
Yeah.
let me just look it up or just have you tell me the name of those wacky parameters again.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think pivot tables are actually one of the more useful ways of looking and like conceptualizing the data. I really like them. It's just that the syntax is so funky.
Yeah.
And that's why you love when you have Power BI's little clicky wizard to pivot.
Clicky wizard. Yeah.
Look at Matt
would
pull out
definitely
the Power
benefit from
BI
a clicky
knowledge out of
wizard.
nowhere. Well, I know what Matt's going to be doing for 3 months.
So I don't know how you guys felt about this, but for me, whenever there are multiple levels to an index in Pandas, I was just like, I'm glad it works. I'm probably going to try to avoid this as much as possible.
But then I thought that, I think originally, but then when they had the country and city in the exercises, I was like, oh, okay, no, I was wrong. This is actually freaking useful, right? Because the city without the country was like, it was almost meaningless, you know, like, I don't know. Because I don't know.
I thought it was really interesting. I did not expect to be working with combined indexes, but I was like, oh, this is a cool feature, and they gave us a good example for it. They kind of drilled it in our head. I got a little tired of typing it, like Ted was referring to, but it was a good example. So that was something to be like, oh, this might be useful, but I just want to move on and stop typing the country and the the country and the city every time.
Yeah, I bring this up because they don't get into it here, but like anytime there's an example where you say, like, I'm going to group by 2 things, and they show you like 2 levels of, there's like, you know, breed and color or whatever, and then the, you know, whatever statistic, right? Like, that's fine when you display it on your screen, but go and figure out how to access the breed brown median. It's a huge pain in the neck.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying?
I do.
That's where, like, you know, and maybe it's just because I'm so much a SQL guy, you know, and so, like, yeah, of course you got multi-column indexes, but you don't have to do this weird multi-level thing. You just repeat values in your various columns, and, you know, then you can always say where this column equals that and that column equals that, and you don't have to have this weird level 1, level 0, level 2, whatever kind of stuff.
But Ted, is that similar functionality to what R offers?
R does not, to my knowledge, have multi-level indexes, and in fact, I generally speaking never use row labels.
I think Maya wants to chime in.
Yeah, go ahead, Maya.
R has a table, and it's actually a pivot table. And it works on any vectors. You don't need to use data frame for this. Very nice feature, but it is not connected to any specific R object, not to data frame.
But if you wanted to pivot by two things, so, you know, breed and color,
Yeah.
how would you store that? How would you access it?
You say that you want table, you put these two things in parentheses and you get it.
So you're saying R has like a special object that represents this.
Yes.
And because it's a special object.
It's a function.
Oh, it's a function.
Yeah, it's a function.
No, but I'm just saying if I had breed, color, and weight, and you were creating a pivot table on breed and color, that output of the pivot table, what would it look like? So if I did that in SQL, okay, I would have repeated values. I'd have breed, you know, poodle black, poodle brown, poodle gray, poodle tan, and then I'd have, I don't know, whatever, Labrador yellow, Labrador black, okay? You can see in the Python examples, they don't have that. They sort of have this multi-level hierarchical index thing.
Yes, I understand. I think in R they have repeated tables for this.
Yeah. So for me, repeated values is not fancy, but it gets the job done without you then having to understand which level is above or below the other level. They're equivalent.
Well, yeah.
Right. So like, you know, if you had four things in it that you were keying off of, you just have four columns. And now the downside is you have repeated values. So space-wise, storage of that may take up more memory than this multi-level Python index. I'm not quite sure how it represents those.
R is not very good with efficient use of memory.
Yeah. So that may be the advantage here in Python. But for me, really, I would probably just tend to try to avoid that. And in my tabular or rectangular data, I would tend to just have values as opposed to sticking things in columns.
Okay, so do we want to keep going down pivoting?
Yep.
So pivot table based on values. So the index is color.
This is
The columns are breed.
Index singular, columns plural. Right?
Yep.
Like this is the sort of thing I was like, God, which one's which? Is it indexes? Is it column? Is it value? Is it value? You know, like this part is just killing me.
Yeah. And then filling in the missing values, you can say fill the not a number to 0 and then get that. And then if you'd like, you can sum by saying, of course, if you want to sum, you say margins equal true, like anybody will tell you.
Yeah. Actually, it's anything that's truthy because I mistyped it. I was like, I want margins both ways. Was it margins equals all? And then that worked. And I was, interesting. And I was like, oh, yeah, because the string all just evaluated the true. And so that worked.
Right.
Like anything, margins equal 1 or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's you know, anything truthy.
Yeah. And then we practice, and that's it for chapter 2.
Hold on 1 second. One second here on the fill values. Like, they never said it. But isn't this dangerous as hell with the fill values? Like,
Equating, effectively, you're just saying that the nulls are 0. No,
yeah,
it's not
like,
dangerous. In a lot of ways, the nulls can be 0. Like, if, for instance, let's say that we're shipping orders and we have a freight charge of null, which means somebody picked it up, and then somebody else says, what's our average freight charge? Well, you ask them, you say, should the people who pick up their orders count for the average freight? Are you trying to take all of your orders and figure out the average freight, or only the orders we actually shipped? And usually the decision maker will say all the orders. Like, I want to know average freight for all the orders. And then you say, okay, well, we have nulls in here because they picked them up, so we'll replace them with zeros and then give you an average, and now you know, right?
yeah, but
It's really only the averages where this matters, right? Because the sums equal
Right.
the same no matter what, right?
right. Yeah, it's the averages. And here, like, if I do average weight, like my weight just like all of these dogs just went anorexic, you know, like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like, boom, my whole, like, my dog population just got skinny as crap, right? Just because I said fill values equals 0, I have negatively affected now, you know, the dogs.
I don't know. Because these are averages here, right? And like these zeros are not being accounted for in the 26.5.
Yeah,
That,
yeah, that's true. That's an average that's only taking those ones into account. Yeah, so
these 24s are not.
if it were, though, that would be bad. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just
that'd be bad.
talking about, right? Like,
Yep.
where the zeros are taken into account when you're producing means, and now all of a sudden you've drastically affected your data.
So I guess if the averages don't care here and the margins equal true, then you're only doing this to make it pretty. Like,
Yeah, it must be a display thing only. Yeah.
so this fill value equals empty string would be better than the NANs that you're getting here.
Yeah, something like that.
One thing I know for sure, if it's going to be surfaced to a decision maker, you don't want anything that says null or NAN or anything like that in.
Yeah.
But they will never figure that out. You could.
Who's Nan, and why is she getting all of my orders?
Yeah. So then we practice, and we're done with 2. Now we can be done with 2. We just spent an hour on 2 chapters, so we're going to go to 3. We want to be done by 7:30, right? That's why we started at 5:30. So let's pick it up. So we print a data set. We get columns and index, which we kind of knew about already. We set the column as an index, which they said in the material in the video, like some people don't like to do that. But be aware that you can.
So I got kicked off just a second ago, but did anyone talk about when you're filling values that, the context is that you're doing like data analysis, data science type work, and then that standard practice in doing that is filling values that you don't have because data is never clean. So you usually fill like with a median value.
Oh, you're talking about interpolation or extrapolation?
Yeah.
That we did not cover that yet.
Yeah, that's covered. I think in the video he talked about that. He said it was going to be covered later, but it wasn't covered in this module.
Well,
So,
I feel like you could do a full module on interpolation and
oh
extrapolation.
yeah, that's what he said. It's in our missing values module or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's a big deal to determine how you will make decisions on filling in data is a big deal. And I'll give you an example. Like I was doing some work with what effectively is an odometer for very large machines. So every time this thing would fire, it would get a shot count, and it would just keep incrementing the shot count. So it would do this for years, right? If the thing was in its position for years. It would just tell you what its current shot count was, like every second, right? And because it did it every second, it would regularly DDoS the servers that were trying to record this thing, and they would have large swaths where the network drivers said, "We're ignoring you. You're too chatty." And so, well, what do? Do you take the last 7 days of the median shot count per second and fill it in? Well, what we chose to do was to just keep it the last shot count, because when we would interpolate and fill it in, the next time it would report would never line up with what we thought it was, right? So we would just say, well, we'll just keep the last value for the duration it was quiet, and then we will mute the noise by taking effectively the average shot count in a 15-minute interval, and then do our calculations off the 15-minute interval, so that when it DDoSed itself, it didn't affect what we were doing trend analysis against. But that was a very specific interpolation, right? If you use that method in another scenario, you might not get data that you felt was reliable. So typically with interpolation, look, I'm not a data scientist. I'm making shit up. Maya should probably talk about this more than I should, but typically you fool around with like 3 different ways of doing it until you get one that you think is closest to the way it probably went.
But off topic for right now.
But off topic for right now.
Moving on.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, removing the index, dropping the index if we don't want the index.
Which, by the way, when I saw that, I was like, okay, sure, whatever. Who needs that? And then later on, it was kind of key to taking something that I had grouped, I believe, and getting it back to what I needed to work with. But anyway, that comes in handy sometimes because it'll set an index for you with certain functions you do.
Yeah, but reset index drop true, like again, that's just super dangerous. But I mean, it's okay because everything in Pandas is immutable. So you'd have to set it equal to something or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yep. So indexing makes subsetting simpler. Index values don't need to be unique. That doesn't sound right to me, but whatever. When they said that at first, I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound right. But they don't have to be unique. And then you can subset on a duplicated index value, like give me everything with a location Labrador and you get a couple back, okay? And then you can have multi-level indexes both on breed and color, and then you get these guys right here. And subset the outer level with a list. So give me the location of Labrador and Chihuahua, and then you see the different colors and their names, heights, and weights. Then the inner, now it looks a little funky to me. So a couple square brackets, and then a list of strings for both the breed and the color. All right, fair enough. You can sort by index values. So this is the data frame, sort index, and then Labrador black before brown, I guess. Yep.
For what little it's worth, I hate the idea of sorting a multi-level index without specifying any parameters, and it's just gonna like decide, oh, I'll just kind of like go from the outer index to the inner index, and I'll do them all ascending. Like, oh god.
Yeah. But we can control it with Scott's favorite syntax. Ascending equals true, false. That works great.
So wrong.
So wrong. Now you have 2 problems. Index values are just data. Indexes violate tidy data principles. You need to learn 2 syntaxes. Why do you need to learn 2 syntaxes?
For how to access things based on index values and how to access things based on column values are 2 different syntaxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I would just shove everything into data columns and be done with it.
Yeah.
Which is how I'm used to doing our data frames. I don't know if Maya or other people have other clever ways they deal with stuff, but I just have it what I consider an index to be an irregular column.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only valid case was the dates one. I mean, like that made sense to me. Maybe it's the next chapter though.
But you can still subset, compare against dates in a regular column. Clearly there's a performance improvement when it's an index. So I'm sure there's times when people use it and it's wonderful.
Yeah,
But
it just made it a little bit easier syntactically. So I like the idea of if I'm going to be subsetting based on dates, of like doing a set index on the date, doing my subsetting, and then doing reset index. Like put it back as a column. Thank you. I'm done with it now. Right?
But you could have just done that in one line with it, leaving it as data.
One really ugly line though, so why not have
yeah,
a couple of
Slightly
easy to read
uglier.
lines? And I think if you're doing multiple, if you're sorting, if you're doing some types of range filters, like I could see it being useful to do something like that. Probably not for just a single transformation though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong. I suspect there's ways you could prettify your code by creating a function that encapsulates your weird date, functionality, and then just saying like, do my function on this data frame or whatever, instead of doing this weird thing of shoving it in an index and shoving it out. To me, that sounds just weird.
So slicing, that's slicing our breeds.
Yeah, this was a review of lists.
Yep.
Right.
And then sorting, sort index, then slicing the outer level, and then slicing the inner.
Well, yeah, this is the bad one though. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
What you might think to do.
Right.
And it seems to me like there is a syntax here that Ted wants, which is like loc of, breed equal or color equal or breed equal, right? And then you can, it wouldn't matter which level it was, right? You just specify the name and that's good enough.
I mean, I just saw this and decided I'm going to avoid this situation altogether.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some situation where it's really, really useful and I just am, totally ignorant.
Did you, like country and city, you didn't find that worthwhile? I know when I looked at it via city, I was like, where the hell is that? Where the hell is that? Where, like maybe it's just because my geography knowledge is so poor that I needed the country there to be like, oh yeah, I remember that's in Lebanon, for example. Or
I'm just saying, like, don't you filter data by values and columns all the time? Why does it need to be in an index?
yeah, it's just a pretty thing. I think that's what it is, right? It's just a syntax thing. It's making it a little bit clearer. The Zen of Python, Ted, is my answer.
Yeah, no, I think it's
I wouldn't really
performance.
I wouldn't defend pandas with the Zen of Python, I don't think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
It's
no,
an example of how sometimes we break the Zen in order to get stuff done.
Yeah, I suspect if you have a really large data frame, you're going to be really happy that stuff that you do with indexes runs much faster. And so I can't knock that. I just don't enjoy having two sets of syntaxes. And again, I mean, I'm first and foremost, my first love was SQL, right? So in SQL, you just have columns and you do like where and all this stuff the same, no matter what column it is. Behind the scenes, you can put an index on a column and you can get performance improvements and you can have covering indexes and primary keys, all that stuff, but you still say where the exact same way, no matter what column it is. And so I guess maybe I'm just jaded based on that.
Yeah. I'm with you, Ted. So set the index as date of birth and then sort. And then you can slice. Okay.
See, like there, that's what I was talking about. That's the clean, that's a very clean syntax. That you wouldn't.
What about this? Is that clean?
Yeah, that's super clean.
Yeah, I think so too.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's something you don't get via the
Except it's
nice way.
1/1/2016. That's the only thing that sucks.
It's what?
It is Python.
It's 1/1.
2016 is not inclusive, right? That's what you're saying.
No, because here it is. Here, the 9/16/2016 is inclusive.
So
Right.
loc is inclusive, iloc is exclusive on the second parameter.
But look,
Don't-
that's a loc inclusive. This is a loc inclusive,
That's what I'm
which is
saying.
what I originally said. Yeah, but that's 1/1/2016, not 12/31/2016.
So
is
may
the
not perform
same.
as you expect.
It does not include the last date each time. Here, the last
No.
date is the very beginning of the year 2016, and there it is not. There's
It
the last
does
date.
include it there.
It
Oh,
is
it is
included.
included.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
included.
Loc
Oh
is
my.
always inclusive on the second parameter. iloc is exclusive like all other slicing in
Yeah.
Python.
So, to Ike's point,
Oh
that
my.
2016 means 2016-0101.
That's what I said 5 minutes ago.
I know. To Ike's point, that's what he's talking about. It is inclusive, but it's inclusive to the beginning of the year, not the end of the year, which is not what you might expect.
No. I'm just teasing. So subsetting by row and number. So there's iloc, similar to tone loc. And then working with pivot tables. And then I feel like it's a little repetitive, but print dog pack. So we have what? Breed, color, height, weight, and then we pivot. Yep, that makes sense.
So I can't remember if it was in one of these courses where they showed a counterexample where like you merged two different data frames and now you didn't reset the index. So now you have 0 through whatever, and then you have 0 through whatever all over again. And so when you just say like data frame square bracket 0, you get 2 rows back. And I was like, oh, I never really realized implicitly that I was doing that. Like, I will be very careful to always reset my index.
Well, but you can have, I mean, like there was an example given already where they said get by the index Labrador, and they got multiple values out.
Right, but what I'm saying is when I say df square bracket 0, I think that means grab the first row.
Right.
It doesn't, and I forgot that that's not what it's saying. I have to actually say df.iloc 0 if I want the first row always.
Yeah.
That if ever there were multiple index entries of 0, I could get back multiple rows when I just say df0.
Crazy.
That's true.
But I do it so often that I had actually forgotten that I wasn't actually saying give me the first row.
So you're
that
saying
I was actually accessing
Ted
that
learned
index.
something in the beginning class.
Well, I've learned a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm not an expert on Python, but that was, I think it was in one of these classes. I don't remember if it's one of the extra ones in between, that we skipped that I did, or if it was one of these assigned ones. But I did think that was a good cautionary tale. Like, df square bracket 0 does not necessarily return only one row.
Yeah.
Even though it always has in all my code, but depending on what you do, it's not guaranteed to return one row.
So then this is slicing with loc, and again, inclusive on both ends. And then the axis argument, axis equals index. So give me the
super
mean.
Confusing. Jesus. It was like confusing syntax on top of confusing syntax there.
I pretty much hate every function that has axis as a parameter.
I think I should tweet that out.
Dustin, are you a Python guy? Are you used to axis parameters?
So I'm a Python guy. I don't use pandas a ton in my day-to-day. I'm not used to axis being there a lot unless you're plotting stuff.
Yeah, in plotting it makes sense, I think. Yeah.
NumPy use
Oh wait, that's
axis
different
too.
though.
Yeah. Say that again, Maya.
NumPy use axis too as a parameter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So axis is 1, it's rows. Axis is 2 is, sorry, I messed up with R. Axis is 0 rows. Sorry for this.
And everybody says 0. Nobody ever says rows. And everybody says 1. Nobody ever says columns.
No, I've seen such options for some functions, but they're not widespread.
I'm just saying, like on Ike's screen right now, it says mean axis equals columns. If you go to like Stack Overflow, it always says axis equals 1, and it's just like that's really hard to know what that means.
Yes.
And then, of course, Maya's right. With NumPy, sometimes axis could be 2, 3, or 4, and so then there is no mnemonic, no string that really corresponds to axis 3. You know.
Yeah. Here we're dealing with a pivot table. So theoretically not a hypercube or something. But yeah.
So then we practice, and now we get to go to module 4.
Jesus, we're still on module 4?
Well, you guys won't speed up, and you guys have a lot to say. So histograms, we knew this from doing R, and it's all
Yeah, I felt
PyPlot.
like we knew all of this. Was there something in here that we didn't know?
I did
well,
not know
wait
this. I was like,
So-
I shouldn't have told us to skip all the. Wait, this is
Dustin
actually before all
didn't-
the plotting stuff. I did not
Dustin
remember this
didn't
stuff.
do the
but
R
I
class
figured it
with
out.
us, but this is
It
basically
wasn't that bad.
so. Pandas and Matplotlib are very similar to dplyr and to
ggplot.
ggplot, and so similar that the syntax of ggplot is identical. Like I was getting confused because I would like, oh, and then you do this. Oh no, that was R, and for whatever reason they didn't implement this in Pandas, but it was so similar. You forget that you're not reading R. Yeah, this is good. You know what's funny is they go through the trouble of showing us binning and then completely fuck it up in the GitHub lab where I'm like, where's the bin now? Why can't you make this readable now? Like, this is awful. Anyway. So then bar plots. So again, it's kind of funky, right? You group by breed and then you get the weight, the mean of the weight, and then you print it. So that's these St. Bernards are 71 kilograms and Dachshunds are 9. And then you plot it. So then we have the weight on one axis, although it's interesting, like, why does it go 0 to 800? I don't understand why that axis shows up that way. Mean weight by dog. That dog's not 800 kilograms. I don't know what I'm missing. Unless it's 80.0. No?
Yeah, maybe I was squinting to see if maybe the decimal's just too hard to read.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be 80.0.
But the St. Bernard was 71.57, so that didn't make sense either. I don't know. Seems like the axis is a little off, but and then a line plot. So there's X, Y, kind is line. This is very ggplot, by the way. And then show the plot, also very ggplot. And then Sully.plot. So date, weight, kind is line, and then they're rotating at 45 degrees.
Rotating the labels, the bottom axis.
Bottom labels, yeah,
Totally
right down.
freaking, like, that's your label for that variable name is rot.
Yeah, rotate.
Like,
Again, not Pythonic from my understanding.
no, not at all.
Like not spelling out that short of a variable name is odd.
Yeah.
But it is very R.
Yes, it is very R.
Yeah.
And I realize the only difference between this and what we did before in matplotlib is here we're starting with data frame and doing data frame.plot rather than doing plt.hist of some frame, right, or whatever, right? So it's just, that's the only difference, is basically the flipping. We're starting from the data frame versus starting from plot and passing in the data frame.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
which I kind of really like, actually. Now that you mention it, I really do like that a lot.
You like this syntax, Ike?
I do like it now that I like that the data frame can just plot stuff. Yeah, I was making fun of it at the beginning of this hour, but now that you just say it out loud, I kind of do like it.
So I'm of the opposite school. So I think this is convenient and I might use that syntax, but I feel this course is really designed for beginners, and there's absolutely no reason why the beginner has to do this. They can just do a regular matplotlib and say plt.hist and data equals, you know, my dog pack or whatever. And if they never learned this particular syntax, they could be just as successful without having to, you know, have one other thing in their brain.
Yeah, I agree.
All about. Sorry, go ahead.
I agree, because matplotlib is more general.
But this course is all about having one more thing in your brain, I think. I think that may be a goal, an implicit goal. Let's throw one more thing in their brain.
So then this is by the way, I do not like anything stacked or overlaid like this. I mean, maybe this has applications in data science, but for decision making, decision makers never get actionable material out of something like this. They, you know, I show them something like this, they're immediately like, can I just get a table? Like, then you add a legend, plot.legend, male and female. Again, kind of useless. Like this guy right here. What the hell's going on here? Anybody know? No. So why do we do it?
I'm gonna cover transparency next.
In this legend scene, it puts the legend in the upper right corner.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't like it there?
Who? Me?
Yeah, you might, yeah.
You can put it anywhere. You can put it outside. If you wish.
Yeah.
You can put it in the middle. You need to find coordinates correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess transparency is a little better.
Well, I would go even lower. I mean, I'd go like
down to 0.5.
Yeah.
Your point's valid. Once you have 3 things instead of 2, then transparency won't even save you. But
yeah, indeed.
But we don't need to talk about charts. I mean, absolutely, people need to learn how to do charts. You're going to do charts and visualize things all the time. But as far as I'm concerned, in the Pandas course, we can just blitz through that and, hey, do the matplotlib course and definitely make sure you learn it there.
Oh, there you go. All right, so what's a missing value? So here's the weight. So missing values in Pandas data frame, not a number. So detecting, so show me the missing values in dogs. Oh, seems like there's a lot.
No, it was weight. It was
There's
only
not a lot. It's only the trues or the missing values.
Oh, only the trues and weight. Right. Yeah. Yep. 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 All right. So that's is in A. And then this is.
This was, if you get confused because all you see is false and true, you probably did this. a realistic scenario there.
Right. So show me any column that has a missing value and its weight. Yeah. And then count them. So sum them up. Weight has 2. I like this. I like that. Okay. That's good. Simple. And then plotting them. So dogs.isNA.sum dot plot in a bar, and weight has 2. All right.
That's a useful example.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd use that, but okay. Then remove them. So you drop the whole row, right? Seems like the whole row got dropped if there's any missing values.
Yeah.
Then
Okay, so this is the part that's dangerous, right? Fill in a, yeah, okay.
Fill and drop are both dangerous.
Yeah. I was talking about the fill in a that I was referring to before was the wrong fill in a. That was just a display fill in a.
but this is the one that actually is
one that's
affecting the
dangerous.
data that you're like,
Yeah.
uh-oh, now math is
Now
going to be wrong.
now my whole dog pack went anorexic. Yeah.
Right. Oh, here's some dicks.
I'm gonna tweet that.
Yep, dick pics. And then creating data frames, formal list of dictionaries. Yeah, we know about this.
Quite the
Speaking of
image.
useless visualizations.
Yeah, this is what they make us type in the exercise. Please create a dictionary and type ginger breed nonsense. Which is all, so they're showing us this, which is basic Python, right? Nothing I learned here. And then they showed.
We first of all, we've already covered it. Like it was in that previous Pandas course that was in the intro.
Yeah.
Secondly, no one ever does this.
Yeah.
It's like it's useful if you have a 2x3, data set or whatever, or a 3x2 data set. But like, even if you have 10 rows and 10 columns, there's no way you're gonna type all that freaking crap out, man. It's so this is like just totally useless.
Yep. Okay, so then this is useful though.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if you guys knew this, but a CSV is a comma separated value.
God, I hope we did.
So bunch of files with a bunch of values. How do you read it? Read CSV. All right.
We did that. Didn't we do this in the first Pandas course we did as well?
I think so.
I mean, it's a good reminder.
I can't remember actually.
Actually, just a quick high-level comment is that I can sort of see how these individual courses were not created together, and it's not this cohesive thing with non-repetitive content. You can see like these mini courses, and some of them are older and some of them are newer, and so you do get these weird repetitions sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. Plural site. What?
Right. So then data frame manipulation, this is adding the BMI column, and it is weight divided by height divided by 100 to the second power, which is because of centimeters.
Yep.
Okay.
Height in meters. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. And then if you want to go to a CSV, it's not right CSV. Because what isn't that right up here? Read. I think read. All right. So it must be right. No, it's not right. It's 2. All right.
Yep. I made that mistake.
Yep. I watched you do it. Okay. Yep. And that's data manipulation with pandas. What do you guys think? You guys learned a lot?
Yeah, I mean, definitely I learned a lot. I think it was definitely a lot of information.
So oh, sorry, go ahead. So can I confess something? Can I confess
go.
Something? Okay. So I didn't get to the second course, Python Data Science Toolbox Part 1. But I did get to the GitHub project. So what I would like to do, is it too much to talk about that course on the June 23rd? I'm hoping
to add it into the.
To maybe add it in, and as I do the statistical thinking, maybe remove one of them, like part 2. Is that too much, or is that just selfish of me because I didn't get to it?
I haven't looked at the statistical thinking ones yet, but whatever it is, if we had this much time trouble, there's no way we're going to cover 3 of them and a project in the same amount of time.
Yeah, we'd have to go through a lot faster, like doing sort of more, like click, 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 not speaking on them.
But I like the conversation. I don't like
next.
rushing it.
And then
I mean, I learned a lot.
If someone
when we
has a
talk.
conversation, then we can go back and talk about it, right?
So what do you guys want to do with this? Because I don't want to be here till 9. So we can cover it now. Or
Well, let me start by asking if people want to talk about the project much, because I don't think I have much to say about it.
I have questions, and I have comments, and yeah, I would like to talk about the project.
okay, let's just see how quick it goes, and then we'll punt the Python Data Science Toolbox decision after we talk about the project. So I'm going to stop sharing.
I will have to bounce right about 7:30. So.
Okay, Dustin,
Okay.
can you kick your?
Yeah.
Can you share your screens? Because Dustin's going to show his project. Oh, someone's chatting. Are you guys reading the chat?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, good.
It's a little easier for us because you're sharing your screen. We can just
right.
kind of flip in and out.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Not that tab though. Hopefully it remembers where I was in my project. I've had some trouble with that.
You've had trouble?
Not on the project side yet.
Oh, okay.
Let's find out.
Yeah. I've had trouble on the.
All right, I think I wrote this code, so we're in
if I
good
close
shape.
a tab or something. Yeah.
So here I'll run check projects so we can see where I failed. But yeah, where do you want to start here?
Okay, so you failed 3 of them. So we should be able to solve those together. So the first thing we do is we read in a bunch of data sets.
Yeah.
One thing that I like doing real quick for those of you who don't know Jupyter is you can split a cell, and that is really useful if you only want to run part of your code at a time.
Yeah. And it's very mnemonic, right? So Control Shift, put in a divider, which is the dash, right? I want to put in a divider right there. So you hold down Control and Shift and hit the dash, right? And then if you go, now be very careful here, Dustin, because I did this. So there are hidden cells in here. And if you try and merge, you're going to pull in their unit tests. So don't do it right now. Go up one cell. Yeah. And then say Control Shift M to merge.
That didn't work.
No, that doesn't work for me.
Oh, no. Right now, do it now. Well, no. So now you're in edit mode.
I think that's
mode.
Are you still seeing my screen?
Yeah, I still see your screen.
Okay. That is a
Control
snag it
Shift
command
M.
for me, so I think we're going to move on.
Oh, okay.
I was like, what's going on? Oh, there's
you
a
can merge
screenshot.
on
Awesome.
the pull down menu if you don't want if you just click cell at the top.
Okay.
Well,
here?
maybe. No.
Edit menu,
okay.
I think.
I think
edit
Yeah.
menu.
Anyway.
So anyway, the split is really useful in testing things. You might, because you reset, Dustin, you might want to just Control Enter, run a couple of these just to make sure they run.
Yeah, sure thing. Is it Control Enter?
Yeah.
Oh, Shift Enter. I think Shift Enter.
Shift Enter runs and takes you to the next. Your focus
Yeah.
to the
I was
next
going to say
spot,
they
next
were kind
cell.
of equivalent.
So they both run.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, everything's working.
Okay.
Okay, so on this, so the first one I think is straightforward. Yeah, you're reading in some CSVs, nothing really much to talk about there.
Mm-mm.
The second one, we did merge.
There's a concat and a merge, or sorry, there's a concat and a pin.
Append.
Yeah,
I think they wanted me to do a pin, so I did that. Concat looked similar to me, but I just kind of moved on once I saw, oh, they're giving me a keyword append here.
yeah.
So he did the PD.to date time type conversion.
Yeah.
But there's one where you do DT.to date time at the end of the data frame, right?
DT, you can do .dt.
Like the syntax would be like polls date dot dt dot to date time
or something
right?
like that. Polls
Polls
date.
date equals, right? Equals.
Polls date, I think.
Yeah, polls sub.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, polls sub date. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Then what?
There, you're taking it and converting it in place. So now you're screwed, right?
This one is?
That actually. Why would they overwrite?
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, we're overwriting the string date column with the date time date column.
Yeah.
But Dustin, you've got both of them, so you want to comment one of them out.
Oh.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but once it's been run, I don't think we're going to be able to show this now. But yeah, there's more than one way to skin this cat.
Yeah, not very.
Yeah. If he reruns the read CSV, then that'll undo and he can check to see whether this code works.
What do I know?
And then this.
So Ike, I think in the end, while it's still a string, it's not happy with your .dt. Once you convert it to a date time, then you can do .dt stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, hold on. So until.
All right.
Oh, but wait, to date time, you don't have parens. Maybe that's what it is.
I didn't
tell me to put parens.
Time.
Now run. Nope.
No, it wasn't.
Still not happy.
I didn't play with these commands at all. I just did it the other way. It works.
I don't know what led me. I think Google led me down the DT route, and I think I got it working, but apparently maybe I'm just making.
All right, so we're back in business. So then the merge data frame.
There's also other Pythonic, or different Python libraries that you can use to do date time conversion or whatever, right? Like there's.
Yeah, I started there and it got kind of weird. I don't know if I made a mistake or if it was just a lot of code to get there, so I backed off from it.
Yeah. I think what you did is probably the easiest way. So that was good.
And I left all my print statements. I didn't think about that I might share this. So yeah, I print out everything as I go.
Yeah.
So that was appending, just if you haven't got to yet, that was appending two different time frames of the same data, right? So that's like a union or a union all, didn't really matter with that data set. And then the merge is like a join based on the indexes, right?
How did it know what to join on?
Well, if you go back to his thing, that's what I didn't understand. Like I played around with merging where I set the index on both. So I set the index, then I merged and it did it. And I checked and it did it. And then I did what Scott did, which is polls.merge. So you take one data frame, you merge the other one, and then the next argument is on. So comma on equals PID. And
I think that's what I did. I said on PID.
Yeah, and so that's why when you didn't.
That might be what I did wrong. That might actually fix a bunch of stuff. I thought the indexes were set, but I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's because you're joining by a column value rather than row. Yeah, I bet that is what you did wrong.
You want to check the whole project?
Just be doing row index.
Dustin, see if it only takes a second. Nope.
Oh,
Still fucked
okay.
up. All right.
All right.
So let's go down to 4.
And there's your DT, but now that you've converted it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So month to get the month, year to get the year, group by the year and month, and then count it. And then let's have a totally disgusting bar chart.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I played with this for a bit, and this is what they wanted us to do, right? I kept playing with this, trying to make it better, and then I was like, you know what? Let's move on.
Yeah, I cried.
Oh, Deepika's here.
It's
So-
very sad.
So by the way, I don't know if this was one of the comments you wanted to make, Scott, but so they create this nice data frame. And then later on, they're like, let's pretend we don't actually have data. And let's have you go back to polls and let's have you do another merge so you can practice it some more. It's like, no, I have
I
this
didn't
nice
do that
data one.
either.
I want to use that. I don't want to have to merge all over again. Stop that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's some things that you have to reset if you don't, because I didn't do that. I kept going, and I had to do some things I think weren't expected.
Can you turn the labels vertically here?
Turn the labels vertically.
Yes. Rotate them 90 degrees.
They're already vertical, I think.
Yeah, they are vertical.
I cannot tell.
Oh, because her resolution.
Yeah, they are.
Anyway,
they are
moving
vertical.
on.
It's just nasty. It's just not a good plot.
Okay.
Is there camaraderie?
Yeah, and so here's another not good plot, right? Like freaking
Okay.
with some exponential
We sat on this for
logarithm
like
stuff in there.
so long because that couldn't possibly have been the right answer.
I
Yeah.
agree. I kept staring at this one, trying to figure out how to change what I was doing.
You can remove the ellipsis. Not that it matters.
Oh, yeah, the bottom
I
ellipsis.
like how the out is ellipsis.
Yeah. Still the same terrible thing.
Yeah, but it's just horrible. Horrible. Yeah.
Okay, so what files were changed in the last 10 pull requests? Now this is a tough one because the
Yeah.
files
Made
are
the same
repeated.
mistake we did.
Yeah, the files are repeated.
So what am I supposed to join here?
Well, that's
it-
where Ted doesn't want to talk about this, but Ted, there were duplicates all over this thing.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, split so that we can play with last 10, right? So in between those two.
Control Shift Dash.
Nope.
Was it?
What happened? Did it do it? No. Oh,
No,
sorry. There we go.
I think you just hit
Here we go.
control. Hit control plus real quick. I think you shrunk us. Just
It's
Just
okay. You
zoom
can't
in a
read
little
it.
bit. Command plus us. I think.
Oh, he's on a
Okay.
Mac.
Thank you.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
he's
Thank you,
on a
Scott.
Mac.
Yeah. Anyway, and then now if you look, so you grabbed the head 10 of that. Now print last 10. And let me show you that that's going to be 3 check-ins. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so that was 1 check-in of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 files. 1 check file, and then a partial check-in, because actually there are more files in that next one that are not listed. So that's what's going on. So we need some sort of group by.
So
Well, you can just do polls 2 or whatever it was called, right?
yes, exactly. So that's the thing where I can't remember if I did it, but I think you use polls list. No, not polls 2.
No?
When you combine 1 and 2, what was that called? There's polls and there's polls
Polls all maybe.
polls. I don't remember.
Man, okay.
Pull files.
Poll files. Okay,
Oh,
so
no,
use
no.
that one. No?
Shoot.
What would I use then?
No, it has to
Why?
be data.
It's the last 10. It doesn't like.
Okay, so it's pull.
Okay,
I think
okay.
singular files.
But regardless, you're going to have to group by. So I think data was fine.
No, because that one doesn't have the individual files. So actually what you want is just pulls, not pull files.
No, polls does not have files.
That's why it'll give
Only
you
has
10.
files.
Oh, he's
That's
right.
why it'll give you 10.
He's right.
Okay.
Just pulls
He's
with
right.
no anything, no underscore, no nothing, just pulls.
I don't think
There
I
you
have a
go.
polls.
Yeah, isn't that the...
Is this it?
Yeah, yeah, you do have polls. Just take the 2 out and run it. Yep, run that. There it
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
Okay.
Now the other thing is, instead of sorting and
Oh.
doing a head, which I think should be valid, on the left you can see there is this n largest function, which effectively does the sort head.
Yeah, I learned that
implicitly.
later. Yeah, that was useful. I used that down below after I noticed it.
Okay.
So
So
then
they
what?
wanted
We're
us
supposed
to
to
then do
join
this
last 10
against
to
pulls,
files.
and then you join
Yeah.
it, you merge it back
To
against the files
files.
so that you get multiple files per.
Is it
per
called
pull.
files?
Yes.
Pull files, I thought.
Oh,
Yeah,
pull
pull
files,
under
yeah.
files. Yep.
Oh, that's what was happening.
Pull snake
Okay.
files.
Don't. That's not right, Ike. And then now you have a join. Yeah, there you go. Let's try it.
Try it. Uh-oh, that looks like it
Bam.
might be right.
I think it might be right.
Well, you're not going to
And-
pass the inspector because you're actually supposed to put the set in files. You're not supposed to set after
I don't
files.
understand what that even. That wants me to cast it as a set instead
Yeah,
of what
so
it was.
just,
All
yeah.
right,
Yes.
fine.
And now you can take it out down there. Yeah.
That seemed like a weird command to me. Do we use it in a minute? Is that why they did that?
Set's just like, you know.
No, I know what. I just was kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Meanwhile,
So that
Pandas
might be
has a
passing.
built-in unique function.
So you want to check your project
really
and see
didn't
if the
need
thing
set.
runs?
I think you're way more worried about whether I got it right than I. Hey, we did it, guys.
Yeah.
See?
Good
So
job.
the set was because some of the files were duplicated across check-ins. And what they were asking for was the distinct set of files. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. Because we did it differently, and so now we were blowing it out. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. So you got this one right, and I don't think this one was that weird.
Now
N
you can
equals
see
3.
N largest in action. That was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, who made the last 10 pull requests on a given file? So the file is that one. And then you say, give me the data where the file equals file.
It
And then,
didn't seem to work right.
well, we can print it.
No, it should have worked.
I think it should have worked.
Select the pull requests. The change.
Yeah, so what they
files.
wanted you to do is to use pull files, not
files.
data.
Yeah.
So this is, again, where it was kind of driving me nuts going back and forth between, am I supposed to use data? Am I not supposed to use data?
Yeah.
Pull files like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then we are joining to
Pulls.
Pulls to get the username or whatever. Whatever that extra field is that's in pulls, that's not in pull files.
on
The
the
ID
ID
again.
again, right?
Yeah.
In
Sorry about
quotes.
that. I always forget those. All right. And then we use joined PR. Is N largest correct here? Anyone know? Seems like it should be.
Yeah, probably.
Am I supposed to make it a set again? How's that look, y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
I
really
think-
old though. Let's check. Adam.
Nope. Okay, hold on.
Did I take a hint already?
You can take a hint, it won't help.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
you've got the correct file.
You can scroll down, there's more to the hint, I think, but I think it's generally telling us, you know, what types of techniques, but we already knew what types of techniques we. Oh, you didn't uniqueify it.
Right here. Yeah, the part where you have to read all their instructions was probably where I went wrong the most. I was like, oh, there's code. Let me just fill it in.
Jacob, there was feedback on your mic, so I just muted you. But you can unmute yourself and if you want to talk.
No, still no.
Still not happy. Oh, so now you need to pull out just the field that they want uniques on. You're doing the whole thing.
Like this, Ted?
I think so.
Yeah.
Apparently not. User.
Join PR user. There you go.
No. Just the users from the 10 most recent? Okay.
Yeah, that looks good. I seem to recall SOC and that Xeno, whatever.
Okay.
Woo!
All right, we're getting there.
Nice.
4 minutes. Let's see if we can finish this. So, 2 special developers.
Xenobuy and SOC.
So what data frame am I supposed to use? Polls, huh? Did they give me polls or did I create that earlier?
You created it earlier.
You did create it.
Yeah, yeah.
No recollection of that. Okay. So then what happens? I don't know. It looks the same to me though. Number of pull requests submitted by each author each year.
That looks right. Did you check it just now?
Check again. Do they care which? Okay.
Apparently
The data
they
looked
do.
the same to me. I think I had it right. They just wanted me to use their that other data frame.
I know that on this step I had something wrong, and instead of up to 250, it was like up to 4,000 or something. And so the shape was the same, but it wasn't actually the same.
I thought you meant how
Yeah. Because if you were looking at data, that's probably what it was. If you were looking at data, it would be times the number of files per check-in, right? So
okay.
it would be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Maybe just the left changed.
For me, this whole session was a good reminder that the context and why you're doing it is important. I just didn't want to take the time when I was just trying to learn a bit more about Pandas. So I was like trying to fly through it. I'm like, oh wait, I actually need to understand what I'm doing before I can get good results. Who would have thought?
And then step 10, you already had right, but I think step 10 was the pivot table or whatever, wasn't it? Oh no, it was another
grouped pivot table. No, you're right. You're right.
They just repeated,
table.
but for a different column, and I was like, really? Do I have to do this twice? Just changing like the column names?
And I think I assumed I had to do a little bit more here than. Oh wait, maybe they filled that in. Anyway, it seemed a little too easy. Just plot it and take the defaults, and it's all done. So it was anyway. Yeah.
So I'm going to stop sharing. You sharing. I'm going to share my screen again, and so I'm going to ask the same question. The time's up. What do we want to do about Python data? I say we bump it to June 23rd, and then when we get into statistical thinking, I'll just talk with Scott and Ted and Dustin, and we'll decide what to do about what we'll cover June 23rd once we have done the courses.
My guess is we only need to do one statistical thinking.
That was my guess also. Oh, and by the way, one final thing. The halftime show project I thought was stupid. The GitHub project, I actually enjoyed that. Like, I know that Ted didn't like the repetitiveness of it or switching us back and forth, but I liked it. I learned a lot messing with it.
Yeah, it was less hand-holdy, and so therefore it was like it felt more real.
Yeah.
I really like the instructions being in markup within the notebook and not having to read on the side so much. As you all saw, I didn't really read the side a whole lot, and so I could have done better if I had, but I like, oh, you're telling me what to do. Let me just go do it in this cell. That was pretty good format.
Okay, so for the June 23rd meeting, what I'll do in the next day or two is I'll bump the data science toolbox module down to June 23rd. I'll put question marks near Python part 2 and that statistical thinking in Python part 2. And then I'll give the meeting link to this meeting. You know what? People watch it. Have you guys noticed? Like if you click this link, I mean, 40 people, and when you see the drop off, like it's shocking. It shocks me. but People circled back and watched it, so maybe you guys are adding value. Who knows?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
So I just took a really quick peek at the two statistically thinkings. And so one is sort of like statistics, and then two gets into like hypothesis testing and stuff, which is sort of like more old-timey statistics, less new data science. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Full statistics.
So I feel like, well, again, we're only doing 8, whatever, out of 22, right? So we're obviously not going to do all of them. People are encouraged to do the other ones. I'm going to do the other ones, but I think we're pretty comfortable just covering the toolbox, which is like functions, and then statistical 1, where people might want to do like some basic statistical functions.
Yes. That sounds great. Sounds like we got a plan, and I'm enjoying this. So if we get to July 28th and decide to throw in an extra August meeting to cover a couple of the classes, if that's what you guys want to do, I'm fine doing that. If you guys want to move on to whatever Scott wants to talk about next, because I kind of chose this track, so Scott's going to make us go into functional programming or some shit. I don't know.
No. Wasn't it? Didn't we decide it was like security hacking something?
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, that's a good topic.
We'll do some.
All right. I always love these meetings, so thank you very much for being who you are. Appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Good seeing everyone.
Thank
Okay,
you,
good
guys.
talking.